Well, there are a few questions being raised following the death of internet activist and Reddit co-founder Aaron Swartz. A 26-year-old young man was found dead from an apparent suicide in his New York apartment just over a week ago. Swartz was the target of an investigation by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Massachusetts, accused of breaking and entering into an MIT storage closet and illegally downloading millions of academic articles and then making those articles public. So it turns out among his many endeavors, he may have also been a source to the whistleblowing website WikiLeaks. Let me just show you some tweets put out by WikiLeaks. Due to the investigation into the Secret Service involvement with Aaron Swartz, we have decided to disclose the following facts. 1. Aaron Swartz assisted WikiLeaks. 2. Aaron Swartz was in communication with Julian Assange, including during 2010 and 2011. 3, we have strong reasons to believe but cannot prove that Aaron Swartz was a WikiLeaks source, hashtag Aaron Swartz. So far, WikiLeaks is not saying more than this, other than to confirm that those tweets were indeed authentic. Now, it's a strange development in this case, especially since WikiLeaks doesn't usually reveal anything about sources or potential sources. The information is prompting questions about the extremely aggressive pursuit of Swartz by the U.S. Attorney's Office. The U.S. Secret Service also involved in this investigation, and we imagine much more will be revealed about Aaron's role and relationship with WikiLeaks in the coming days. Well, I want to stay on this topic of Aaron Swartz for a little longer and also to talk a little more broadly about the cause near and dear to his heart, internet freedom. RT Web producer Andrew Blake is here to talk more about this. And Andrew just returned from New Zealand, where I know you were meeting with internet entrepreneur as well as Mega Upload founder Kim.com. Before we start, just tell us a little bit, remind us of the backstory of Kim.com and what's going on with him.
The backstory of Kim.com actually goes back quite a ways. He's been involved in computers and the tech industry for around a decade now. But exactly 1 year ago, Kim's website, megaupload.com, was shut down by the FBI.
And this is a website with millions of users, right?
Oh, yeah. At one point, it was in the top 5 most visited websites in the entire country. It was a website where people can take large files, upload them, and then send them to friends, because you can't really do that over email unless you pay top money to have like a very, very strong account. So Kim launched Mega Upload a few years ago, and then last year, the FBI coordinated a raid with New Zealand authorities on his home in New Zealand and arrested him, put him behind bars, froze his assets, and shut down his site and essentially put his whole career on hold, put his whole life on hold, because he's looking now, if he's extradited to the U.S. and he's convicted here, he could spend decades in prison. So it's been 1 year since that whole fiasco went underway, and I sat down with him and talked about what's happened in the year since.
So he is in New Zealand now, and I know that you sort of had a visit and you just got back, and you had the opportunity to talk to him, to sit down with him one-on-one, and it turns out he had heard of Aaron Swartz and knew what had happened. Talk a little bit about this exchange and how this came up.
Well, you know, Aaron, as you know, was a frequent guest in RT and was on at least a dozen times over the last year. And he was on 1 year ago when Mega Upload was shut down by the FBI, and he was on to talk about it. And you know, Kim recalls that and was very grateful that he had, you know, such a genuine, caring person who was so motivated by, you know, having an open internet, that he was advocating for the release of Mega Upload and, you know, talking about the injustices that were at place here. So, you know, Kim and Aaron, of course, are both in the same industry, but you know, Kim is more of an entrepreneur, and now he's advocating for online freedoms. But you know, at one point, he made his whole fortune off of being a businessman. He was, you know, comparing himself with Aaron a little bit, at least talking about what they were both striving for in terms of creating an open internet for people.
Yeah, let's hear what he had to say.
Well, let me be clear, I'm a businessman, okay? I started Mega Upload as a business to make money, and I wanted to list the company. I'm an entrepreneur, all right? I'm not Aaron Swartz. Aaron Swartz is my hero. He was selfless. He is completely the opposite of me, but I'm a businessman. I'm driven by the success of achieving something in the business world, okay? That's not a crime. There's nothing wrong with that.
So really, Kim.com just kind of laying it out there, being very honest about the difference. You know, he was in it to make money, and he really sees Aaron Swartz as somebody who was, you know, did this because it's what he believed in. And of course, another thing that we had Aaron to talk about a lot was some of the cybersecurity legislation. SOPA, the Stop Online Piracy Act, PIPA, the Protect IP Act. And it's going to be really interesting to talk, you know, to watch what happens with these pieces of legislation, which didn't pass the first time around. But what's going to come up the next time around with this new Congress? Were you able to talk to Kim about that as well?
Yeah, I mean, we talked for around half an hour about a lot of different issues. We talked about SOPA, we talked about Aaron, we talked about Mega Upload, we talked about the new project Mega, which was just launched over the weekend. And, you know, Kim was kind of all over the place, and he talked about, you know, how he did start off as a businessman. But what happened was after this raid last year, he found out that his emails, his correspondence, his phone calls were all being wiretapped by different intelligence organizations. And although, you know, he's always been involved in the internet industry, only in the past year has he really started concentrating about privacy and not piracy, as the U.S. government says that's his big business. So his new project, Mega, is a way for people to share files online. You know, once again, upload files, send it to someone else, but everything is incredibly, very, very strongly encrypted, so that, you know, the watching eyes of Big Brother, you know, whatever government, whatever ISP you're sending your data through, can't necessarily see what it is you want to share with other people. And so Kim was talking about, you know, once I just wanted to make something so that people would be able to share files. I wanted to be an innovator. I wanted to find a way that we'd be able to get one thing from one place to another easily. But over the last year, over everything that's happened, he's realized that it's not as easy as just doing that. You need to actually find a way to do that securely and to protect yourself, because you never know who's watching what you're doing.
And I think we have another part of that interview that we can play.
The White House was supporting SOPA. And only when the masses came together, and Aaron Swartz, I mean, he stopped SOPA. With his efforts, he stopped SOPA, and he became a target, a political target, okay? And that's why all these things happened to him. There is no reasonable cause behind going after a young genius like that in the fashion they did. It's political.
Andrew, we're almost out of time. I want to switch gears really quick. Kim.com and Anonymous, a totally different topic here. I know Anonymous, the hacktivist group, supported Kim.com for a while. They're kind of mad at him these days. What's going on?
Yeah, a few years ago, before Mega Upload was ever shut down, there was a whole other case about something called Ninja Video. It was another site where people were able to share files which may or may not have been illegal, copyright infringement, this and that. The FBI shut down Ninja Video, and as we found out over the last couple of months, what happened was Ninja Video was operating through Mega Upload. And so a lot of hackers, hacktivists, whatever you want to call them, people who are loosely affiliated with Anonymous have called into question Kim.com's affiliation with the FBI. So here's a guy who now is, you know, adamantly opposed to this whole witch hunt over internet activists that's being launched by the Obama administration, but just a few years ago he was cooperating with the FBI. So Anonymous is now calling for a boycott. At least members of Anonymous are calling for a boycott of Mega. But, you know, Kim was saying that he didn't do anything wrong. He was operating his business, and when the federal government came to him and asked him to comply with the search warrant, he always assisted the government. He was always a good corporate citizen, and it just came to bite him in the ass eventually.
Yeah, I think the word snitch is now being used. A lot of questions raised, a lot of really important things to keep our eyes on here. RT Web producer Andrew Blake, thanks so much.
Yeah, sure.